imagine almost every town has a big sports theater of some sort or another, and you can just imagine it's generally a square or a dome with some entrances all around. And when the vice president comes to town and you have the Olympics and you have 16,000 police and troops mobilized and whatever security detail the vice president brings along, I think we can safely assume that the place is ringed with police in uniform and not, that we could probably anticipate hundreds, if not thousands, of private security. They set everything up to be like the airport, where you got to go through screening metal detectors and all that sort of thing, and maybe even the little X-ray machine that looks at your honky-ponky. But somehow this mental case got through all that with forged documents. So you have to wonder the psychic abilities of this mental patient and how he could forge these documents and know what they look like. Because usually in an event like this, they change their format every day. So you can see it one day, come to an event, and not copy it and bring it back for the second day. That would, I think, be a kindergarten cop lesson almost. So I would expect that there's quite a variety of these documents. So how this gentleman could copy them is rather up in the air. That means someone would have to show them to him or copy them for him and give them to him. But in the BC press, it said he didn't use those forged documents to enter BC Place. No. He just got inside. He probably just, like, went into one of those dissociative states and just walked through the wall like an extraterrestrial or something like that, eh? No, there's only one possibility. Someone let him in. Someone gave him these documents. And what possible reason could there be to have a mental patient just walking around near the vice president approaching him? Well, when you study the classic assassination, you have to have the fall guy. You have to have the Lee Harvey Oswald, the Sirhan, and the Osama bin Ladens and company. Someone has to stand there and look guilty after the real assassin does his job and leaves the murder weapon with the mental case, because no one's going to ask him any questions too much. They're just going to know that maybe the vice president was shot and there's someone standing there of dubious background with forged documents illegally in the building who just happens to have a freshly fired pistol that he just picked up off the floor or had tossed to him. So one of the other big addendums to the story Agent 99 came up with is another man got into the building as well, carrying a package. So even with $900 million plus and Honeywell Corporation putting alarms and everything and millions of dollars spent on the finest high-definition recording cameras known to mankind, and our best and faithful police, our military, the U.S. Secret Service, and God only knows what else, another party got into the building as well with the package. And I can just well imagine what was in the package, maybe a 9mm semi-automatic pistol or something. So anyway, nobody bothered to look for that guy, and nobody gave a rat's ass about looking for the package either, because what do you need to look for your own people for? Because it's probably the same people that let the mental case into the building in the first place. So when I study assassinations in the American political system, one thing I've learned, and I'm preparing a large one for, everyone that goes back to Lincoln, like frequently when these things happen and a president's shot, you just have to automatically say, like you do in a murder mystery, the butler did it, the vice president did it, or someone who is going to usurp the power of the United States. So when I look into the background of Joe Biden, I start to look at it and go, he's just an average guy. Like, he's not one of these secret society, New World Order types. So Joe Biden, when he ran for Senate, went up against one of Richard Nixon's favorites, a guy named Boggs. And Biden was like, the lame duck coming into a race. He borrowed money from his sister. He went to a nondescript university. He was just a run-of-the-mill student. But maybe he was an honest guy and he got elected, and the voting machine wasn't invented to rig the votes maybe back then, but he got in. And just after he got in, guess what happened? He got into one of those, well, not him specifically, but his wife and his children got into one of those T-bone accidents with a transport truck. His wife was killed, one of his children was killed, and the other two were critically injured. Right away, that tells me you pissed off the New World Order. big time. But he hung in there. 1988, he had another event. He had a major aneurysm. It's called an intracranial berry aneurysm. Generally, you die about 70-90% of the time. So even though he had this life-threatening aneurysm, he didn't go to any of the local hospitals. He made sure that his people took him on a beeline to Walter Reed Army Hospital, because I guess he knew there that they weren't going to kill him. You don't go to Bethesda Naval Hospital, though. That's a no. And he survived, even after having another aneurysm after that. So when we look a couple of shows ago at this boxing kangaroo flag, and we start to read it like the Masonic secret societies do by looking at the pictographs and the images and looking for the broader tale to know about the images, the Southern Cross that we came up with, and things of that like. We also came up with another very important piece that we couldn't apply to anything back then because we didn't know what it meant. We came up with the word Delaware. But then when we look into Joe Biden's background, we find out he's the senator from Delaware. So right there, hidden in the plot about the ship, yacht coming, owned by Alan Bond, and that old movie about the boxing kangaroo with that secret word Delaware, I guess maybe we hit the nail on the cross. That was one of the plots. One of the three. Just to add a little perspective, a former vice president back in the day wrote a book called Go Quietly or Else. I brought it up on a previous show some time ago. Probably no one knows who he is or cares who he is anymore, but he was a vice president once. His name was Spiro T. Agnew, and in his book he tells you what the or else was. He devotes a whole chapter to the fact that if he didn't resign, they were going to kill him, because Richard Nixon was going out the door, and there's no way in hell the New World Order is going to allow an honest man to be president of the United States. So they had to take out the vice president first. There's a lot of pressure on President Obama about this birth certificate, that maybe he's not a legitimate president. We brought up on previous shows how, just like we had the Lone Gunman series filming 9/11 months in advance, we also had a Canadian television show called The Border talking about an American president coming to Toronto for a conference. The president's even black, and he's shot by a Toronto police sniper in this little bit of fiction. You'd almost think the G20 summit's coming here this summer. You'd almost think we have a black president. You almost think he's going to be coming to Toronto. And I imagine the Toronto police do have snipers. Wow, what a coincidence. What a coincidence. Mr. Biden was in some serious debating issues with another former vice president, as we mentioned before, Dick Cheney. The criticism was like tag team fighting on all the big radio and TV shows, Meet the Press on NBC, Face the Nation on CBS, going back and forth about the war and various credentials of both these parties. And I think we know that Mr. Cheney's quite the guy, especially when you go duck hunting, that he'll take you out if he doesn't like you too much, and he's still working for the New World Order, I think. So was this a determined attempt on the vice president's life? Perhaps. Let's look at some of the words Mr. Biden has used. I remember some time ago, we'll quote, "Remember I said it standing here if you don't remember anything else I said. Watch. We're going to have an international crisis, a generated crisis to test the mettle of this guy," referring to President Obama. "Mark my words, I promise you it will occur. As a student of history and having served with 7 presidents, I guarantee you it is going to happen." The same day, General Colin Powell was on Meet the Press saying exactly the same thing. It's going to happen. But see, there's shows like us that kind of spoil the beans and tell you it's going to happen. And sometimes it don't happen too good after that. They have to change the plot. And just like it said in the Secret Mason meeting, doesn't have to happen. You can change the channel. And when you change the channel, you change your destiny. And you don't have to buy anything because we don't sell anything. Except your life and your freedom. Can we pick up a YouTube, Blue, if I snap that puppy loose? Okay, so this is a little snippet from the movie